Good morning. It's my pleasure to introduce the speakers for this session, Grandmother Chickadee and Patty Bokangel. Grandmother Chickadee is a member of the Sandy Bay First Nation. She is a proud Anishinaabe who has dedicated her life for the betterment of our land, our water, and our Indigenous communities. Patty Bokangel is the Education, Community Relations, and Navigation Services Manager for Cancer Care Manitoba. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Hi, Chickadee.
Hello, Patty.
It's wonderful to have you here today. Thank you for doing this for us. In today's session, we will explore the medicine wheel, a sacred symbol and framework used for balance, healing, and wellness in many Indigenous communities. Whether you are a patient, a caregiver, or family member, we hope that this conversation will give you insight, comfort, and connection. During the session, please feel free to enter your questions in the chat as they come to you, and towards the end of the session, we are going to be asking those questions to Grandmother Chickadee together. Grandmother Chickadee, thank you so much for joining us again. To start, could you please share a little bit about yourself, your community, and your role as a knowledge carrier?
Okay, I'm originally from Sandy Bay, which is on the other side of Lake Manitoba, western part of Lake Manitoba. I call Lake Manitoba my lake. I grew up by that lake. I have 3 children and 6 grandchildren. I'm the eldest in my family of 6. I grew up around both Amaranth and Sandy Bay, so I guess you could say my life is different from what other people may know. I have an Indigenous worldview, and my culture and my traditions are around our way of life. Because a lot of people don't understand is that I live in 2 worlds, and the world I live in is my indigenous way of knowing and being, and the other world is what's here right now with you.
Thank you. Can you tell me what a knowledge carrier is?
I guess it's one that carries knowledge from experiences, but also from ceremonies, and we get a lot of teachings from knowledge carriers, and that was passed on to them, and that is passed on to us. So we have a responsibility to pass on that knowledge to others. A lot of them are teachings. Like I said, the water can give us teachings, the land can give us teachings, the trees can give us teachings, human beings, animals, and all that we coexist can give us teachings. So we carry that knowledge. I'll give you a small example. The mosquito. I was so annoyed with the mosquito in ceremony, and then my sister told me, go put tobacco out, talk to that mosquito. And I said, oh yeah, right. And she said, no, go put the tobacco down and just say you're here for a little bit. So I went and did that, and then I went back into ceremony, and it was like a bubble. I could see the mosquitoes, but I couldn't feel the mosquitoes the way that I felt them when I first arrived, because they were just all over swarming, and like I said, I was getting annoyed. And then all of a sudden, those mosquitoes ceased, and we did our ceremony, and they came back, and then I realized, like our relatives, the Lakota, they say all my relations, and I understood what that really meant, is that those mosquitoes have a purpose too. They took my blood, and eventually they're gonna die, but they carried my blood, and then somebody else eats that mosquito, then somebody else eats what that ate the mosquito. So we become part of an ecosystem. So I remember thinking, hey, I'm part of that eagle. Hey, I'm part of that bear, or I'm part of this, because we're all part of that food chain, that ecosystem. And every part of that ecosystem is important. So that gave me a teaching of respect for the mosquito.
Yeah, and so connected.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Thank you for that. So now we are going to start talking about the medicine wheel. And can we have the medicine wheel on the screen, please? Thank you. So for those unfamiliar with what is the medicine wheel, can you tell us what it is and how is it used?
Well, we use it for many different things. I mean, there's medicine wheels all over the world that identify the people to the land. And they all are a center point to their teachings and what it brings. But we also carry a medicine wheel within. And a lot of people don't understand that. That's the body, mind, spirit, and emotions. And so we have to look at the different things that exist outside of us, but we also look at the different things that exist inside of us.
And can you describe more details about those 4 directions and what do they represent?
Well, the directions, there's the east, south, west, and north. And in our ways, we have a lot of 4s that are embedded in that medicine wheel. We have the child, the youth, the adult, and the elder, or the older people. So that's in there. And then we have the seasons also. You know, we have the spring, which is our new year, the summer, fall, and winter. So that again is part of those medicine wheels. And there's teachings in every one of those. You know, we have the medicines that are in there. And the one that I know specifically about is the ones that are within us, that is continuously looked at and trying to balance that out, and why I do the ceremonies, why I take part, why I fast, why I sundance, is to keep the medicine wheel in balance. So there's the body, mind, spirit, and emotions. And that's my medicine wheel that guides me.
Right. And for someone wanting to use the medicine wheel to try to get as much of that balance as possible, for someone that has never seen it or used it, how would you suggest they use it? What are some questions that they need to ask themselves to kind of see where they are at, and what would they need to work on to achieve that balance?
I think it's ongoing. It's a work in progress. I don't think it'll stay the same, that every day is different. Maybe even every hour is different. You know, and how you look at yourself and what you carry and what you can do in creating much more of a positive way of thinking. Your mind is overworking all the time. Your mind seems to cling on to negative, thoughts, and we don't know how to work at bringing those good thoughts forward, because we're so used to covering our thoughts and feelings and those things that we carry within, that sometimes it's our own thoughts that create that chaos. So we try and look at, what am I doing for my mind? How am I flipping the script, I guess you could say. What am I doing to, either create awareness on why I feel the way I do, or why I think the way I think, or, looking at those things. It's like we can change our thoughts, that, we have a choice. We can't always stay in that mode of negative, I guess you could say, or those unhealthy thoughts.
And if we go to the next one, which will be the physical,
it's what we're putting into our body. One of the things that I was taught, I should say, was that when you're taking certain medicines, there's certain foods you don't eat, and there's certain foods you have to eat, and there's your exercises. Instead of staying there doormat in your room, or sitting in a chair and thinking about what life has brought you, in regards to cancer, is that where you want to sit for the rest of your life, or do you want to move forward and take those walks? We get up every day not knowing where we're going to walk or how we're going to walk, We get out of bed different every day. You know, it's not the same 2 steps where they're marked right there on the floor. You know, we get up and we walk, and we don't know our destination at the end of the day or that beginning of the day. You know, we just know we're walking somewhere. And that's choice too.
Thank you. And what about emotions?
Well, a lot of times our mind and emotions, and even our physical, like, you know, the pain will alter our emotions. You know, we live with pain in some of our sicknesses, and some of our sicknesses are they trigger our emotions. You know, like there's days, you know, we just don't want to feel anything, and there's days we carry rage. There's days we carry, you know, immense love, or there's days that we don't know what to feel like because it's such a chaotic day, you know, and everything that's in front of us, or everything that we know, you know, we think we know about cancer.
And spirit.
Oh, I really believe spirit is our foundation. I really believe that without spirit, we wouldn't be able to go through all the rest of the mind, body, and emotions, the physical. And it's spirit that carries us. You know, it brings our faith, how far we want to go. And again, it's what we chose to, you know, meditate, to pray, you know, take those medicines, you know, exercise, have those good positive thoughts to carry us to, and work on those emotions that we carry or try to carry us.
Yeah. I remember when you were teaching me about the medicine wheel a few years back, you had mentioned how you wanted to have those numbers in each dimension, and it will be a way for people to say, okay, for example, in terms of my mind, where am I at? And it could be a 3, and then in physical it could be an 8. For emotions it could be a 5, and for spirit it could be a 7 on a given time. And by doing that, you will know which are the dimensions in which you are doing okay, and which are those in which you think you need to work on, to make sure you have that balance that we are all wanting to have.
Yeah, we have a gauge, I guess, 1 to 10. How are we taking care of our mind? You know, are we feeding our mind good thoughts? Are we, you know, reading good books? Are we, you know, enjoying the beauty of the world out there? What are we doing for our mind to change the way that we're thinking? So, you know, on the gauge, 1 to 10, you take a look at that, and helps you, you know, bring it up to a level, or even to a medium, you know. And nobody's going to be 10 all the time, I guarantee that. But it's a gauge to help you, you know, to think good things. You know, when you do good things, when you think good things, you feel, you know, good. And spiritually, you're on a, I guess, on a balanced way of being.
Yeah. So the next question I have for you: how can someone living with cancer or caring for someone with cancer use the teachings of the medicine wheel in their daily life?
It's looking where they are. You know, today I may be at a low in my mind, thinking, well, the world's against me. I don't want to, you know, to walk out there and challenge the world, or, you know, be in that world, because you're not in a good frame of mind. So what can you do to pick yourself up? What can you do? Because at the end of the day, it's your choice. Nobody can help you unless you want to help yourself in thinking those good thoughts, and you know, bringing yourself up. We always say in our way of life is that you can't help others unless you help yourself. And sometimes people need to also help, you know, bring you those good thoughts. When my sister had cancer, we brought a bunch of women to sing outside because we couldn't have contact with her. And even in the hospital, my son and my nephew went and sang outside the hospital. It's just knowing that we were present that brought her those good thoughts of knowing and feeling loved, and, you know, to battle this cancer. So our way of life, we cross lines, to bring our faith forward, to carry her through our prayers, and make her, because she's not in a good place, she's not thinking good things. But knowing that we're out there, helps her kind of trying to look at things different, feeling different, and knowing different, that there's people out there rooting for her, that care for her and love her.
Could you tell us about the importance of spiritual and emotional wellness in Indigenous healing traditions?
When you're spiritually well, you're emotionally well too. I've seen a lot of healing in our ceremonies, our spiritual ceremonies, and it's all about aligning our spirit with all creation. It's about bringing balance, and so when you're spiritually well, you're emotionally well too. And same with, if you're emotionally well, you're spiritually well. They go hand in hand. They live off each other, I guess you could say. A lot of people live through prayer. Well, like I said, my sister battling cancer twice, and knowing our traditional medicines, but also knowing that there's the Western medicines. But putting those two together, she fought cancer twice, and she's still here with us.
Yeah. So when people are being diagnosed with cancer, or have been diagnosed with cancer and are in treatment, they may feel very overwhelmed and sometimes even disconnected during their cancer journey. How might the medicine will offer them a path back for balance in this particular context of cancer?
I guess it's always ongoing process of what are you doing for, those parts of the medicine wheel. Because if you're off in balance in one of them, then you're going to be off balance on the others. So it's looking at yourself and what can you do better, to feel better. That choice is up to the individual. But I think the medicine wheel is a tool, for people. But I really believe that somewhere you got to find faith, to face another day, and not with grief or negative, or without hope. I think every day is a hope for another day that's coming. I'm not sure what to give in that question.
No, I think what you've said is very helpful, can be helping many people. And to me also is about remembering that we are a person, right? And we have many aspects that we have to take care of. And the body is one of them. But there's these other three which are also important part of us as a whole.
I think there's miracles in hope and faith. I've witnessed it time after time. So I think it's where you are, and even in the fact that there's a journey that you have to take from this physical world. There's another journey on the other side, which is the spiritual world, that we know that we can still connect to that other world from this world.
How does Indigenous cultures view the role of community in healing? And you've give us an example just right now about your sister and people outside as a community, but tell us more about that. How does Indigenous cultures view the role of community in healing?
I believe it's the faith and the prayers we carry and that we ask for, and the offerings and the sacrifice. It's a lot to do with your heart, your love for the individual or individuals that maybe are carrying cancer, and there's other faith groups, that pray. And so we ask for those prayers for life, for the best outcome possible, So it's always about faith in what we do. We can't just say, okay, I give up.
Mm-hmm.
No. Like I said, when you wake up in the morning, you don't know where you're going, where your legs are going to take you. But when you wake up, you have that gratitude and say, she's still here, or he's still here, or I'm still here. And obviously, you're still here for a reason. Like, Creator doesn't make mistakes. Yeah, we may be affected by certain cancers, but like I said, I know miracles. I've seen and witnessed miracles in cancer in a way that we're able to. I don't want to say pray it away, but to use prayer as part of it. But the medicines we carry also.
Is there a particular teaching or story from your own life that you feel you want to share today with all of the people that are joining us now?
I think never letting go of faith. My sister battled cancer. I've lost members of my family with cancer, and just being around them and giving them energy and love. I think that was my greatest gift to them, is that knowing that I didn't want my world to be without my sister. I begged for her to, I'd say to her, I want my sister back. I begged for her life in a way that she doesn't know, but it's knowing that sometimes all we have is faith. It's knowing that that love of someone that we care for deeply or love deeply, that will give it all we have. We don't know until that time comes what we have. Yeah. So, yeah, my family. That was my baby sister.
Yeah.
She's not a baby anymore, but she acts like a baby.
Sometimes.
Still.
Is there anything you would like to talk about that we haven't covered in the questions I've asked?
I think a lot of times we give up hope. I think a lot of times we're angry at Creator, God, or whatever faith we believe in. And we have that anger and rage towards it. Why me? And I think, why not me? And I'm not saying, to embrace cancer. It's just like we have a chance to look at life different and not to take life for granted, but to actually take that step in knowing what life is really about and what life has given you. Not just a cancer. You're not cancer. You're not cancer. You're Patty. You're Chickadee. You have a lot more that you are than what you carry is that cancer. To us, we say, those are parasites, and we can fight those things to the best of our ability, or to the best of our strength. And I think a lot of people forget their own strength and their own faith.
Yeah. Thank you, Chickadee. Thank you so much. I think we have some questions in the chat. Are there any resources to learn more about using the medicine wheel? Ceremonies that welcome anyone that's interested in learning more about the medicine wheel?
Like I said, there's medicine wheels all over the world that have been teaching people for,
many
for many years, thousands of years. And I think it's, the way that I teach, I say you're indigenous from somewhere. So you have your teas and herbs, and the grandmothers always said, use this, that'll help you. Ginger or whatever, some of your own medicines from wherever. But I know that in traditional medicines, there's people that carry that knowledge of and also share that knowledge. And I don't think they differentiate what culture you are or what ethnic background it's. You go there and they have to help, you know, because they have a responsibility to that medicine, but also a responsibility to life.
Mm-hmm.
So, and anybody, you know, I remember this man had cancer, and he was from Ireland, and he was a friend of mine, and he said, "Unfortunately, I'm sick, Chickadee, and I have cancer." So I told him what he needed to get, and he's still with us, and he's still alive, and
Wow.
his life around him went chaotic, but he's still here with us. So I just gave him an insight what he needed, and he had to look for it. And sometimes I think we have to look at those alternatives. Sometimes we have to look beyond what is in front of us. Sometimes we have to fight to know what is there for us that we can use. It's like a prescription of life.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. We have more questions coming up, which is great. What are some examples of simple rituals I could do in my daily life?
Gratitude, water, the food, the medicines we use, sage, you know, to start the day off so that we can think in a good way, walk in a good way, hear in a good way, talk in a good way, and have that good heart feeling so that we can move towards the rest of the day.
And let's say for someone wanting to use sage as you are suggesting they could, how does that look like? What will they have to do with sage to be able to use it as medicine?
Well, I think they'll have to go to knowledge carriers or some of the traditional people, because they always carry medicines. We harvest our medicines, and we do a trade with tobacco or a gift to use that. You know, like sometimes we need all the medicines, and so we use that. But I think knowing you're alive that day, you know, you wake up with your eyes open. That's the first gratitude. Acknowledging life.
Yeah. If I want to participate in a sweat, who can I ask?
There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people here in the city. On a given day, I could probably give you, you know, who's having a sweat on the weekends mostly, and in which direction you go, and then give some names. I think we need to make an elders list or a knowledge keepers list so that they can go to us.
Yeah,
you know.
I think that's a great idea, Chickadee. And maybe you can do that after and then share that list with the participants along with the places where you're saying they could go and ask about sweats.
Yeah, and one of the things that the sweat does is release the toxins in your bodies. So some of the toxins you carry, you know, there's less things to carry, but also helping you, you know, think in a good way, because we go and make our prayers there, you know, for that good life, and that good life embraces that medicine.
Yeah, and for those that who don't know what a sweat is, can you tell us about that a bit?
It's one of our natural ways of healing. We have 7 natural ways of healing, and the sweat is a sweat lodge. If you search anywhere in your Google, and some of you might not have the, you know, the knowing, it's a place of prayer to help us ease some of the things that we may carry, and it's also making prayers for relatives, you know, for the sick, and also for your own well-being. It's a lodge that's covered. I can't even describe it. It's like a wigwam, I guess you could say. We enter in there. We have the grandfathers, which are the rocks, and we bring the water and medicines in there that help us. And we do our songs and pray in there. It's like your church, I guess, in a way. You use your incense and whatnot, and you know, you sing your songs.
And it's dark, right?
It's dark in there.
Yeah.
It's really dark.
And really warm.
Yeah, very warm.
You said faith is really important. How can I begin to pray if I have never done it before?
I guess just knowing there's something greater than yourself, um, and knowing, there's, people may call it God, Creator, higher power. It's by saying thank you for this day, to be able to see another day. And from there, it progresses your gratitude, and then your prayers will say, I pray for a good day, or I pray for good thoughts, or I pray for that good walk today. So it's how you put your thoughts in front. And thoughts are also prayers.
Mm-hmm.
Those good thoughts are prayers of wanting that good life. We all strive for that good life. Every human being strives for a good life. And so when you put those thoughts and say, like as soon as you open your eyes and say, oh, thank you for this day again. I see the sunrise, I see the sunset, I see the rocks, I see the trees, and I think of the beauty that I take in. There's beauty in everything if you look at it differently.
Mm-hmm.
You find the beauty even in your pain and your suffering.
Yeah.
I think that's the beginning of prayer.
Mm-hmm. I remember once you told me that, nowadays we are all so busy, so into the what we have to do, that we sometimes forget to just look and pause, and how much you can get from doing that, taking time to pause and listen and look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a fast-paced world out there. We get occupied with a lot of things, but then we forget ourselves. We forget what really is inside of us.
Mm-hmm.
The awe of just seeing a baby. The awe of watching, an old couple walking hand in hand, or a song that brings memory. We forget those things.
Mm-hmm.
It's things that made us feel good.
Yeah.
I think we need to go back to some of those things that made us feel good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Aside from the sweat, what are the other natural ways of healing?
Thank goodness, I got to remember this. Is sweating, shaking. Like sometimes our body carries so much that we start to shake, and that's shaking some of those nervousness or feelings off. There's yelling. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Really, yelling helps. Crying, talking. Did I say sweating too? Sweating, like even when you're sweating because you're nervous, or there's things you're uncomfortable with, or when we go to a sweat, that's sweating. Okay, there's one more. I don't know. Maybe I'll leave it up to the person to find the last one. 7 natural ways of healing. That's within us.
Right. Okay. Just one final question, because we don't have any more questions coming from those joining us. When you were approached as someone to be a part of this conference, and you were discussing what topic you would like to cover and how you would call what will be your theme, you said healing in all directions. Understanding the medicine wheel with Grandmother Chickadee. Do you have any final thoughts about healing in all directions that you would like to share with patients, family, and loved ones?
I think everyone, has the ability to look at that medicine wheel within, and where you are and how you want to change that. And being given another day to look at gratitude. Real gratitude, even though you're maybe sick, it's just saying thank you, for my children, or thank you for this beautiful sunrise. Giving that gratitude. I think gratitude takes people a long ways, even in their sickness. I remember my sister always saying thank you for coming, thank you for your prayers, thank you for your songs. So I think gratitude and faith and hope, for a better day or another day will take you somewhere.
Thank you so, so much, Chickadee. And thank you all for joining us. Take care.
Are we done now?